Hi, my name is Christine Revis, and today we're going to explore listening skills. Listening is an active process that requires effort and skill. Contrary to belief, listening and hearing are not the same thing, and we will explore these differences. Additionally, most people rarely receive any formal training on listening skills and how to become a better listener. Being an effective listener is a critical part of communication, and today I'm going to discuss some techniques that can help one to become a better, more active listener. Listening is an active process in which people select, attend, understand, and remember the information that they hear. Listening is a skill that can be improved upon with knowledge and practice. To listen effectively, people must be able to filter out other distractions around them, such as noise or personal thoughts. Let's discuss listening versus hearing. Many people think it's the same thing, but it's not. And given all the listening we do, you'd think that we'd be better at it. In fact, most of us are not. Research does suggest that we remember only about 25% of what we hear. So listening is about I get it, perceiving and understanding the words that you're hearing, tone of voice, inflection, and volume, understanding the mood of the speaker, diminishing distractions, looking at those nonverbal cues, body language, facial expression, personal space, perceiving and paying attention to and understanding and remembering the message. That's listening. Listening is I get it. Hearing is I hear it. Hearing words and sounds, making sense of those sounds and sorting out sounds and voices. So that is hearing. You hear it, which is much different than listening and actually understanding what you've heard. There are 4 styles of listening. People have different listening styles. A listening style is a preferred way of making sense of the message that we hear every day. We have people-oriented listeners, action-oriented listeners, content-oriented listeners, and time-oriented listeners. We're going to discuss each style. First, we're going to talk about people-oriented listeners. Now, these listeners are often the people that others go to when they want someone to listen. They often appear non-judgmental and attentive to the speaker. They speak of more of we than I during their conversations, and they include emotional appeals into those discussions with others. So these are people-oriented listeners. They listen to others' feelings and emotions. They empathize with others. They look for the common areas of interest when speaking or listening with others. They're good at developing relationships, and they're good at fulfilling group maintenance roles. So these are our people-oriented listeners. Next, we have action-oriented listeners. Now, these listeners are focused on the job at hand. They pay attention to the details and give feedback about the discussion. Our action-oriented listeners prefer information that is well organized, brief, and air-free. They want others to get to the point. They're more skeptical of the message that they do hear. They focus on underlying reasoning and evidence that supports conclusion, and they stay on task and assess the quality of the message. They also like to assume task-oriented roles in groups. These are action-oriented listeners. Next, we have content-oriented listeners. These listeners are drawn to credible sources. They enjoy analyzing what they hear. Content-oriented listeners are more capable of showing others the many sides of an issue. So these content-oriented listeners, they like information-rich content. They are comfortable with the complex and detailed information. They require supporting evidence and specific details to accept a message that they do hear, and they make good note takers and analyzers. So these are our content-oriented listeners. And lastly, we have time-oriented listeners. These listeners are generally the ones to set the meeting times and remind others of these times. They often discourage wordy conversations because of the time constraints, and they value their time, which lends to the need to end the meeting on time. So our time-oriented listeners are about time. They prefer brief messages over long talks. They remain aware of the amount of time they have to listen, and they help the group stay on task. They are very time-focused. So these are our time-oriented people. Understanding what your listening style is or the listeners that you have can help you become a better listener. Next, we have some steps to active listening. Clarifying and understanding the speaker's thoughts or feeling will help you to become a better or more active listener. So first of all, you want to stop. You want to focus on the speaker. Put your thoughts aside. Be there mentally. Make a mindful effort to listen. Be patient and be open-minded. You want to look at what you see. Look at the nonverbal cues. Listen for feeling through voice, pitch, quality, rate, and volume. Also watch body movements and posture and observe facial expressions. And lastly, you want to listen. Listen by matching nonverbals with verbal cues and try to interpret the message the sender is giving rather than the message you expect. Now, some other steps for active listening is to ask appropriate questions when the time is right. Ask questions to obtain additional information. Find out how someone's feeling for clarification to verify your conclusion of a certain meaning or feeling. You can also paraphrase content, so restate what you think the speaker is saying in your own words. And you can paraphrase feelings. Paraphrase the feelings in your own words of what you think the speaker is saying. And this helps to be a better active listener. Next, there's some barriers to effective listening. These are barriers to listening. In order to have effective listening, people must overcome some obstacles sometimes. One of them is prejudging. You want to overcome the temptation to prejudge people you dislike or disagree with. You want to overcome the temptation to ignore people that you feel are boring or offensive or over academic. Do not prejudge by culture, ethnicity, or race. So prejudging is not good when you want to be an effective listener. Additionally, you don't want to rehearse a response. Do not rehearse what you want to say when someone stops speaking, because that's going to take you away from actively listening. You want to attend fully to what the speaker is saying, use spontaneous, accurate, and appropriate responses, and be confirming and supportive. So trying to remember not to prejudge or rehearsing a response are some of the barriers to help you become an effective listener. So if you get those out of the way, listening should be a little bit better. You also want to listen to avoid conflict. Conflict is about disagreement, and research clearly supports that the importance of using good listening skills to avoid conflict. You want to avoid conflict by using good listening skills, acknowledging how the others feel, and expressing your own feelings, and this will all help to make a good start towards mediating a challenging situation. So today we talked about how to become a better listener. You want to be aware of your listening style. You want to, when listening, you want to do so actively. Stop what you're doing. Avoid doing anything that distracts from listening. Look for nonverbal cues that will help to interpret what you're hearing. So listen with your eyes as well as your ears. Listen for feeling. Ask yourself, how would you feel if you were in the other situation? Remember to ask questions also to clarify and paraphrase any content or feelings to confirm what the other person says and that you understand it correctly. Being an effective listener is a critical part of communication. It does require work and effort. Remember to take an active role in the listening process. Our thoughts move about 4 times faster than our speech, but with practice, you'll be able to think about what you're hearing, really understand it, and give the feedback to the speaker. Clearly, listening is a skill that we can all benefit from improving. Becoming a better listener will improve your productivity as well as your ability to influence and persuade and negotiate others. And on top of it all, better listening should help you to avoid any conflicts and misunderstandings in the future. I hope this information was valuable for you, and I enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you, and have a good day.